Hello everybody, Colonel Steve Akley here, and I'm at my place, the ABV Barrel Shop, where I am next door actually at the ABV Barrel Shop's event center that is speakeasy themed. So it's kind of a cool place, fun to hang out. We have a private club here where we do events for members and stuff like that. We have a lot of fun. So a lot of the good memories that we're creating are from right here on this side of the business, and not necessarily something you guys get to see a whole lot, but Darren's working next door, and it's tough to shoot these type of videos when you have someone else in the room. So I decided I'm just going to go next door and I'll record over there, doing a whole series of videos while I'm over here today. So what we're going to be talking about today is what's next for me. Just like anybody else, I get restless and I want to do something else. And, what's the next chapter look like? What is there life after this place even? Could there be something that I do after I retire from the ABV Network and the ABV Barrel Shop? And I've been thinking about that kind of stuff recently. I'm not getting any younger. I sincerely wish I would have started in the bourbon industry a solid 25 years before I did. Really could have channeled a lot of the great ideas that I had into the industry, and I think that had I done that, I would be really a household name in the world of bourbon, and I'm certainly not that at this point. I'm just a guy who creates a little bit of content and has some fun, and it's just through the eyes of a bourbon fan, and that's what I always will be. But you do want to look at what's next. So I came up with some ideas here that I think could possibly be the next things that I focus on. The first thing is writing. Now you're like, well, you write now. And I write now, but mostly in the form of newsletters and things like that. So, blogs, that type of thing. I do certainly a lot of that for the shop. I do some of that for the ABV Network. But I am a writer at heart. I'd like to get to where I'm writing books about some people from the bourbon industry and things like that. So that is certainly something. And I have I've already got a couple books. I think I've got 4 books that I've started and then at some point got bored and walked away from them. So I could go through a time where I become seemingly very proficient and, publish, 6 books in a year or something like that, only because I've gone down pretty far down the road in some cases on some books. But I'd like to be a writer, and it doesn't have to be all bourbon stuff. Not necessarily. I do have interests outside of that. So the next chapter could involve, just being a writer and writing about what interests me. I always feel like as long as you're writing about what you care about, what's important to you, what you like, you are going to be a good writer. If you, be like, well, I could make some money if I write about, vodka or martinis. Man, I think martinis might get hot. I could write about those. It would be a terrible book because I don't actually care about that stuff myself. I mean, I stick to what I know. I stick to bourbon, and, I've got some other hobbies as well that may play into, what I'm writing about in the future. So that could be some fun stuff. Events. I certainly do events these days. And kind of on a small scale, I guess. My events range from, as small as, events for like 8 people up to about 100. That's the biggest event that I've ever done. We did a big thing at Jack Daniel's. I hosted an event with 100 people that did a whole thing at Jack Daniel's. That's the biggest event I've ever done. And then everything in between. So, could I do more things like that? More full-time stuff? That's probably going to be what I land on. For the bulk of, my time and allotment moving forward. I think if you ask me today, that's going to be the winner today. But these things can change. They can change. And we'll see what the evolution is, because I'm still here. I'm still doing what I'm doing, and there's no end to that in sight. It's not like, this is going to happen very soon or anything like that. I'm going to be continuing to do this stuff. But I always think about what's next. You got to think about that, because if you don't think about that, guess what? What's next can sometimes find you. And are you ready for that? So, when I lost my job in the corporate world, I wasn't ready for that. I was thought I'm going to work for 2 more years, and then I'm going to get out of the business I was in and see if I can focus on bourbon. And one day I go into work and they're like, you can't work here anymore. We're having cutbacks. And I was like, ooh, I didn't prepare for this. Luckily, I was able to somehow, some way piece together, a bourbon career. But that wasn't a given. I feel like if I'd have been smarter about that and kind of ready to go thinking, hey, this could happen, because they were always laying people off. And I was the wrong age. I was 49. When that happened to me, I was very susceptible, and I was kind of, my attitude had turned where I wasn't that great of an employee. So, I'd gone from the superstar who always contributed things to being still a superstar if you looked at the work that I produced. But man, I was tough to deal with because I was over it. I was overplaying the corporate games and stuff like that. And corporate America doesn't like when you don't play the game. So I became what they would consider a problem employee. So again, doesn't reflect on what I was doing because I could always do things. Maybe it was even easy for me. I don't know. I just, when it comes to creative things, I find that there's not a lot of creative people in the world, and I always was a creative person. So I was able to help out the company always with creativity and things like that. Even though I wasn't in I was under the sales department, but I would get pulled in on marketing things and stuff like that because I was a creative person at heart. So yeah, the idea of getting into events could be a very big thing for me. Another one could be a brand. Do I create some sort of brand? If I don't have a liquor store anymore, could I create a brand and do some good with that? Maybe. That it's a lot of work. It does involve tying up some capital, but if you do it the right way and you have connections, which I've got that. I've got one of the hardest parts of it done, so maybe. It's a possibility. I mean, you certainly think about that. As a bourbon fan, you always think, what if? What if I had a brand or something like that? So that's a possibility as well. And then the last one is probably the idea that I would have the most fun with, the idea that I would love the most, but almost likely is not going to happen. But I like the idea of doing a full-on bus tour of America with a group of people from the bourbon industry where we go city to city. And it's a big event, but it's broken up into small events. There might be some comedy in there. There might be some panel discussions. There might be some process discussions. We'll get the distillers out individually talking about their brand and heritage. We'll get groups, coming out and things like that where they get together. And I would be the facilitator of the whole thing. You're selling T-shirts and you're going to get on the bus at the end of the night, heading off to the next city. I don't know. I think that would be incredibly fun. I think that I could get the right group of people together that would have a good time with it, but man, there'd be a lot of logistics. You got to work with, getting a bus and a driver and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to be a fun part of it. Then you've got the logistics of working with all the venues and things like that. So it would be a lot of work, but would it be worth it? I don't know. It seems like it. So if I had to rank these, what is next for me? I think writing is a slam dunk. I think I'm going to put that as number one because I'm going to be writing no matter what. And I will write the rest of my life, probably focus on some books. Again, they might not necessarily be bourbon related, but I know that I'm going to be writing. So I think that's definitely number one. Number two is events. I feel like, I'm always going to be involved in some sort of events because, again, I've got a lot of contacts. I have an audience that follows me and I can give them access to do things they can't do by themselves. And what makes me truly happy is allowing other people to experience things. And, I feel like I'm lucky. Whatever happened, however I got to where I'm at now, I get afforded the luxury of doing a lot of things behind the scenes with distillers, unique experiences that are unbelievable, things that I couldn't even dreamt about. They are so cool. I get the chance to do those type of things by doing what I'm doing. But you know what, to me, I think that's awesome. But you know what I think is even better? Being able to bring friends on, to bring other people to come in and do it with me. So events is going to be number two. And I'll probably be doing some of that too, no matter what. Helping out my buddy Royce Neely or my buddy Adam Stump, whomever. I do think there'll be some of that, but how big do I get into it? It just depends. We'll see. Number three would be the brand. I mean, there's a small chance that I could do that. And then you got to think of what do you want it to be? Do I want it where I build something up and grow it? Or do I want to be just like, no, I know who I am. I'm going to pick out, some incredible barrels. And when I sell through barrel number one, I'll look at barrel number two, that type of thing. That might be kind of fun. And that's definitely a very possibility too. So that would be cool. Last but not least would be that bus tour. Now I'd love to do it. I just don't know logistically if it could happen. You'd have to have, people committing to things to doing a lot like that. Could it be done? Maybe. Would I like it to happen? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? I don't know. It's the future. We'll see what happens. But that's what I would just want to talk to you about today. What's next for me? I don't know yet, but I'm always thinking about it.